Bill Melton, I am smiling from ear to ear like the Cheshire cat. Looking at you, I have to tell you, when I see your name, it makes me smile. It makes me happy. And what a gift that is in this busy, lonely world.
Thank you so much, Megan, and right back at you. I mean, when we talk, I always feel like I got a little smarter, but then I got a whole lot of work to do. So I really appreciate. I love where we are in our relationship right now. Right? I mean, it's awesome.
And I want to share with our listeners the history of our relationship because I think one of the best gifts in life that we rarely stop in the busyness of it all to really lean into are the people that come into our lives. So you and I had met, oh my God. Would you say, is it a decade ago
I think it's longer than that, dude. I
now?
think it is longer than that.
Shit.
I made a note today that I think we met at the Hampton Inn in Center City,
Yep.
and that had to be 15 years ago.
Do you ever feel though, like if your mind works like my mind, is everything either 5 minutes or 5 years ago? Like there's nothing in between. It was either yesterday or decades.
Yeah, my sister laughs at me all the time because I always say it's about 20 minutes to a half hour from here. And she's like, how can the whole world be 20 minutes to a half hour from where you are? I guess maybe that just makes me think I'm the center of the universe. I don't know.
Oh my God, I love that. That's so true. That's so I do the same thing, my friend. And then I'm always running late. And then I'm like, how does this always happen to me? How does this always happen?
Mm.
So so we had met, that's exactly right, in the hospitality space. And at that time we had no idea where our journeys would intersect again. And I always remember just loving my time with you in the hospitality space, always feeling that you made me feel that I was the most important person in the room, and always following up on your promises and suggestions. And it left a lasting mark
Oh.
in my heart. And then when I had enough courage to begin this movement, you were the first person I called because you had been courageous enough to start your own. Do you remember that conversation?
I do. I do. And what a great conversation to talk about our whys. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we wanting to bet on ourselves? Why are we wanting to do these things? Right? I mean, and I wish sometimes I could just replay that and I do replay that conversation in my head over and over. And it really, what a great conversation. So thank you. So I'm honored that I was the first person that you called.
Yeah. And it makes me flash too, Bill. Do you do this? You and I are two birds of the same flock. I've tried to be so much more intentional to pick up the phone versus send the text or send the email. There's something just organic that happens, even if it's just, you don't even need to be in person, but just voice to voice. What's your thoughts on this whole like living behind a screen, technology driven world, loneliness pandemic? Like what do you think of it all?
I honestly, I think that a lot of what is going on in this world is because we can't sit in a room together and get
Mhm.
an understanding of where the other people are in this conversation. And I heard someone last week say, if we could actually sit together and get and have an understanding of the things we all agree on,
Mm.
what a great what a great starting spot. Here's what we agree on. What we disagree on is a lot smaller in number, honestly. And I think from a sales perspective, being in a room with a client, from a leadership perspective, being in the same room with your team, being able to have those water cooler moments, being able to have those pat on the back moments, right? You go back to the whole idea of love languages and what's your love language. And sometimes it's just this being able to put eyes on somebody, being able to be in the same physical space with somebody. So I agree with you. I think that living behind a screen gives people a false sense of
Mm.
security. And the real security comes from when we are able to connect with each other and be able to ask questions and get a deeper understanding of where other people are, but also be able to give people an understanding of where we are. And
Mm.
I find anyway, 9 times out of 10, people are a lot more understanding of where I am when we're in the same room, and we get to a better spot than when we're together and we're hashing things out and nobody's allowed to leave the room. That's the thing. If we're having a disagreement, nobody should leave. We should stay there and try and work through it and understand that from the basis of what we all agree on, there's very few things we have to really work our way through. And yeah, that's my take on it.
Oh my God, Bill. Listen, we are a few minutes in and you are taking me to church, my friend, because, and for those of you who might not be watching us on YouTube on the video, my mouth is literally like to the floor drooling because it makes me think back to this whole thing on the power of human connection. And yes, we know those things, but we forget them in the busyness of life and the checklist and the emails and the pings and the dings. And I had a beautiful woman on yesterday. She should be out on the podcast by the time that this beautiful conversation comes out. Maury Tara Poor, and she was just talking about negotiations. As you were talking about sitting in a room together, elbow to elbow, having the conversation, not hiding behind the screen. She had talked about negotiations have just this bad buzzword or the conflict or the conversation, and it's hard to hide behind the screen, but when you come human first, to your point, understand, listen, see where I'm coming from, see where you're coming from, the conversations flow much more organically and beautifully, and there's a resolution that that feels right to all involved.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that then people feel like I was heard, I was seen. I have someone we may not necessarily get everything we want in the negotiation, but if we're having true negotiations in good faith, we'll be able to work some things out. And I've now probably added another member to my tribe.
Mm.
And I've
Mm.
had somebody who's now an ally in my conversations. And sometimes allies in your conversations aren't your yes people. It's the people who sometimes say, you might be off the rails a little bit here, and let me help you understand why I think that. And I go back to that whole 80-20 conversation you learn in Sales 101. It's, 80% of the time, you should be quiet as a salesperson.
Mm.
I take that and I think 80% of the time, I'd like to be quiet as a human being and listen to what's going on and listen to what other people are saying, because you get a lot more by being quiet. God gave us 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. And how do you learn about other people? Because that's how you get further in conversations.
Oh, Bill, I absolutely love that. So this just happened in my life, and I hate that I even got here. So I had found that I was talking on the phone, scrolling my social feeds,
Mm.
simultaneously checking my email while talking on the phone. I was then doing that with my husband at dinner, not even present at the kitchen table, thinking of all the things. And I thought, oh my God, like I'm not present at all in any of my life because I'm so much in this screen. To your point, missing these moments in conversation that if you set some bumper lanes around just putting the phone down or putting it on do not disturb or putting it in a drawer that's not in your hand, how more impactful it can be, and the power of your relationships change in every facet. Do
Yeah.
you
Nope, go ahead.
do you have any, being a business owner? Well, actually, let me wait. Let me go back.
Okay.
I want to talk about your why because you had talked about that earlier and it's such a beautiful story. Will you share with our listeners sort of your journey, your why, and how it led you to where you are today.
Yeah, and it's my story. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that I am totally biased because it's my story. So I get it. You know, when we met back, either 10 or 15 years ago, depending on whose version of the story you believe, right? It's, uh, I was on this journey. I wanted to work for Hilton Corporate and I wanted to grow my career. And, dare I say, I wanted to be a VP of some sort. And I got to live a lot of those dreams, not the VP part, but I got to live and I got to lead a team for Hilton in the brand performance support organization. And I used to run to my office every day. I loved what I was doing because I felt like me and my team, more my team, was making an impact in guests' lives because they were making an impact in general managers' lives and directors of sales lives. And then they were, by default, then they were making an impact in owners' lives. And they were able to help create opportunities for growth, create opportunities for revenue, create opportunities for people to have an occupation and a career in themselves. Over time, right, Hilton did some changes. COVID came, it totally decimated our industry. And I started to lose the joy of going to the
Mm.
office every day. And instead of running to the office every day, I kind of I kind of started, walking to the office every day. And which is interesting because I worked from home. And when the dog's in the middle of the hallway and blocking your way to your office, you can either jump over the dog because you want to get to the office, or you can say, come on, let's get out of the way because you want to delay it a little bit. I was starting to try to usher the dog out of the hallway. And and I was talking to my wife, who's not just my wife, she's probably one of the smartest women, smartest people I've ever met. And she gets where I am from a why perspective. And she's like, it's just not doing it for you anymore. What do you think you need to do? And I said, I missed that time where I felt like I was making an impact on people's lives. And she's like, why don't you start your own company? And I thought, wow, that's really kind of an interesting idea. And so a few things happened along the way, and it turned into Melton Hospitality Advisors. But the why really was after the after the pandemic, I was talking to hotel owners who were saying nobody's looking for work. I can't find anybody.
Mm.
And I was talking to some of my friends who unfortunately were out of work, and they were saying, no one's hiring. I can't find a job anywhere. And I thought, there's no way that both of these statements are 100% true. They're true from the perspective of the person saying them, but how do I help these things? And doing strength finders, two of my biggest strengths were connector and relator. So I said, why don't I, what kind of industry, what kind of thing can I do to help connect these two populations that seem to be at such odds with each other? And uh, the why is just to try and help get the hotel business, especially in the Philadelphia market, back on its feet and back the way it was. Philadelphia is a world famous hospitality market. I'm finding out in my journeys. And it's really cool to say, I have clients in the Philadelphia hospitality industry. I have people in Texas saying, I want to come work in the Philadelphia market. I have people in Washington saying, I can't wait to get back to the Philadelphia market. It is a great market. It is a booming market. So my why really is helping people get back to work so they can provide for their families in an industry that has just been so great to me as an individual and as a family member, and then help owners be able to implement the things that they want to implement, because they have the team that gets the culture, they have the team that gets the goals of the organization. So that's the why, uh, for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the whole journey to get there. And that's just it, man. It's a journey. Like I say, in our Amazon world, which I love me some Amazon, but it has created this sort of we want it and we want it now. And it needs to be on our doorstep in 48 hours. And if it's not, then screw it, wasn't meant to be.
Mhm.
How do you how do you keep pushing through and how what do you think gave you the bravery to transition off of this identity that you had with this organization for
Yeah.
17 years or so? Like
Sure.
what do you think it was that gave you the courage to push through all that fear and unknown and discomfort?
I think it comes down to the relationships that you have and the
Mm,
relationships that you foster. And I relied very heavily on, I think the term you always use is your tribe. I relied very heavily on them and talked to them about what do I do. And of course, I am very fortunate that I've got the love and support of my family to say, you can do this and we have you. And sometimes it is that trust fall of things aren't going great. Stick with it. It's gonna be okay. And I think that there is that certain bet on yourself prospect too, where no one said it's gonna be easy. No one said it's gonna, as soon as you say, hey, I'm going into business for myself, the skies are gonna open and the sun is gonna shine and money's going to come pouring in. That's not the case. And if you're in it just for the money, you're in it for the wrong reason. Whatever you're doing, you've got to find that it feeds your soul as much as it feeds any other part of your body. The idea is, rely on those people and your tribe shouldn't be filled with yes people. Your tribe should absolutely be filled with those people who say, I love you, and here's where I think you're wrong. Here's where I think you can get better because this is how I see you. And listen to those people. And there's a great phrase out there that I'm starting to instill is like arrogant people don't.
mm,
Period. Don't be arrogant. When
mhm,
someone's willing to give you that kind of insightful help, be open to it. Because
mm,
we're on this journey. None of us are completed. We're on a journey together, and I think that relying on people like you, Megan Miller, and some of the other people that you and I have introduced each other to, those are people who are been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and understand it's not always going to be you know milk and cookies. There's going to be times where you have to really have hard conversations with yourself. But
mm,
recognize if you can't have that conversation with yourself, who can you have it with?
I love that. Bill, as you're talking, it makes me flash to a conversation. I just had this the other night with my husband. He said to me, Meg, you asked for my advice. And then when I tell you something that you don't want to hear, you just want to be done with the conversation. I was like, you know what? You're right. You're
Guilty. Guilty.
guilty. Why do we do that to the people that love us the most and truly have our best interest in mind? Isn't that interesting how we like so quickly defute, or at least I know I have, my husband's advice through this journey if it's not what I envision? I'm like, nope, he doesn't get it. He's wrong.
Yeah. But yet we'll listen to some is this a PG-13 conversation?
Oh my God. Yes, we drop F bombs all the time, my friend. You're listen, you could go.
We'll listen to some asshole who doesn't have any idea who we are that makes some comment online and we'll internalize that, but we don't listen to the people who lay
Truly.
next to us at night and heck could put a pillow over our head anytime they wanted. Not that I say that's a good thing, but why don't we listen to those people? And it drives me nuts when I do it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I have to get better at that, right? Because again, we're all on this journey.
So true. Awareness, man. What a gift it
Yeah,
is. What a gift it is.
yeah.
You said something and I wrote it down because I loved it so much and it spoke to me. This feed your soul.
Hmm.
I think for a long time I had no idea what the hell that was because I was so busy with the checklists and the task lists and the accolades and doing the thing that the rest of the world told me I should do be one. For our listener, Bill, that is listening, and they are slowly walking over the dog or escorting the dog, and they're just going through the motions, and they have this just whisper,
Mm.
whisper, and it's scary that they know that they were meant for more, but they don't know where to start. What is
Mm.
one piece of advice you have for them?
Figure out a time and a place where you really can kind of do some reflection
Mhm.
and really listen to that part of your soul that you try to turn off every now and again. And for me, a lot of it is that gratitude, right? I've been blessed. And I'm not a religious, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. I have had a phenomenal 56 years on this earth. I'm looking forward to 56 more. But I also recognize that life isn't perfect. And a little bit, I was a philosophy major in college. And one of my biggest one of the philosophies that kind of draws me is Taoism. And Taoism really simply is life isn't easy. Nobody said life was easy. And a portion of that is you got to find the joy where you can find
Mhm.
joy, because there is joy in the struggle. And if you listen to your heart and you listen to your soul, it will help you kind of understand this is what strengthens me and this is what allows me to be the fuller version of myself. What can I bring? And it doesn't mean you have to change your jobs or change your careers or change anything, except maybe the way you look at how what you're doing, and have it come more from your soul than it does your brain.
Mm, mm. I love that. I was just listening to a podcast this morning, and it was a Mel Robbins podcast, and she had said to the listener, "You, what does your heart tell you to do?"
Mm.
And even though it's not, because 9 times out of 10, what your heart, what your gut tells you what to do, it's not what you're doing, and it's uncomfortable. But,
Yeah.
but to your point, you know what to do if you give yourself enough silence to actually hear it.
Yeah.
Bill, I want to go back to what you said. I wrote it down because it just made me flash to you and I were together the other month at an event, and you so beautifully got up and spoke about gratitude
Mm.
and what it's meant in your life. And you wanted to get more intentional with your practice. Can you share that with our listeners?
Yeah, you and the gentleman that you were co-presenting with did a phenomenal job of kind of helping the audience understand different ways in which they can micro steps in which they can help fight burnout. And one of the things that stepped into my brain was gratitude, because we all have to remember that you know it's important to say thank you to people, and thank you for what I have, and thank you for who I am, and understanding that there are people in this world who have it a whole lot worse than I do. And I can't compare myself to anybody else. I have to be happy with who I am, and I want to make sure that the people who who have had a positive impact in my life know they have a positive impact in my life, and that I'm living a dream, and I need to understand that, internalize that more, because I really am. And whether people agree with that statement or not, that's not my issue. My issue is I agree with that statement, and I'm going to show some gratitude for anybody that has had a positive impact in my life, like Megan Miller. Thank you, Megan. So yeah, I mean, it was great, and it's a those 4 steps that you gave us. I came right home and I was like to my wife, I was like, "Honey, this was awesome. Here's 4 things, and I'm going to start doing this." So I had another accountability partner in the mix, and so yeah, it's great. And you'll be surprised that when you show gratitude to people, what comes back.
Mm. So there's so many things that I want to dive into there, but one of the things that I want to talk about first is when you talked about sending the thank you. It just made me flash to during our time of knowing each other. you are authentically, because I think that people know when it's authentic versus bullshit and like waiting for an ask, you have authentically continued to not only me, but the people in your tribe to cheerlead for and say, hey, I was just thinking of you. Hey, that was a really great post. Hey, I really love that. And I think that I think we think these things all day. Like, oh, that was nice. That was great. But we don't stop and share because we're busy going on to the next thing. Do you have any sort of air quote intentional practices that you do to share these thank yous or gratitude, or is it as simple as, hey Meg, when I think something, I just let the person know, I send them a message.
I just let the person know. It's there for me, right? And this is just how I do it. It's like, hey, this person and this person, I just was talking to this person and your name came up. It's 45 seconds to say, I was talking to this person and your name came up. You two should know each other. And it's really for me that simple. And I I don't put a lot of thought into the conversation that I'm going to have, but I think that's okay because it's just based in me wanting people to know other people and people wanting me to know other people, which I totally appreciate. It's like the more people I can get in, I'm starting to look at LinkedIn and those kind of, it's a big cocktail party. It's just a big cocktail party. Let's go meet as many people as we can. And I think that's it. And I have and when you are the bullshitter, there's that, hey, and can I interest you in, 2 years of the Britannic Encyclopedia? No, dude, do it because you actually think that there's something good that can come from this.
I love that you literally just used those words a couple weeks ago. You introduced me to someone, and in your intro LinkedIn connection, you had in your LinkedIn message, you had said, I view LinkedIn as a cocktail party, and so I wanted to introduce you to. And I thought, what a great way to look at social media. I think that, like, your life can be a direct result of the lens that you look at it. So you could look at LinkedIn as or any social feed. Look how great everyone else is doing but me, or look at how many likes that person got, or why isn't this person responding? Or you can look at it as a vehicle to connect people and share and build community. Bill, looking back on your life, have you always had this sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Positive mindset? Was it instilled with you in you from your parents, or how do you think that you were able to have these conversations in your mind that are more positive outlook and looking at the glasses half full versus half empty? Like, where do you think that stemmed from?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't honestly know. When I was a kid, I had a good upbringing. My parents loved, I don't know. It really is one of those things where, and it hasn't always been the case. There have been dark periods in my life, and I'm so fortunate and lucky and glad that they were periods in my life and that I'm able to then, but I remember them. And I think that's important too, is, hey, look, when you're struggling, it's important to remember, hey, there's good times out there too.
Mm.
When you're having really good times, don't think that that's all there is to it, because there are opportunities for growth always. And now I'm going to forget the name of the book, but there was a great book. And one of the things I loved about my time with Hilton was we always had books to read, and to kind of, somebody was always sharing what their latest book was that they were reading to help, whether it was from a business perspective or from personal growth perspective. And one of the books, and I forgot the name, but I think it was like Peaks and Valleys, and it was making the argument that your life is like a mountain range, right? You got peaks and valleys.
Mm,
When
mm-hmm.
you're actually, and the key in life is to really kind of make as the peaks last as long as you can, while understanding the valleys and how to get back up there. And a lot of folks spend their time not learning from the valleys, and kind of allowing allowing them to set up a village in the valleys instead of trying to scale the next peak. And that's kind of how I've always looked at it is, hey, it may not be great right now, but man, how do I get back to that peak? And
Yeah.
everybody's peak is different. Going back to that whole why, everybody's peak is different. Everybody's valley is different. But how do I get back to that peak where I'm feeling good about myself and feeling good about the work I'm doing and feeling good about the people I'm surrounding myself with? I don't, I don't, I think I got it just from under reading and really knowing that I'm imperfect,
Mm.
and these books and these readings and my experiences are all part of this journey. And I think, honestly, majoring in philosophy didn't hurt for somebody to kind of play around with this stuff.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that because I think we have tendency to believe that the tough times are going to last forever and the good times we never really enjoy because we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And
Yes.
right? Like
Yeah.
there's this I was watching Brene Brown and she talked about how the most difficult human emotion that there is joy because
Hmm.
when things are good, we think to ourselves something's going to happen.
Hmm.
How do you listen, being a business owner, starting this own company, trying to be a good husband and a good mentor and a good leader and doing all the things and wearing the hats and all the things. How do you not lose yourself in it all? And how do you allow yourself to enjoy these moments, these wins, these accolades? Do you have any practices or anything that you do?
One of the things that I try to do, honestly, Megan, is I try to set boundaries.
Mm,
Um, I think that there's a perception out there that if you want to be successful, you have to work 75, 80, 100 hours a week. I think you have to define success as on your own terms. And I set boundaries. I purposefully have my office in my basement because that gives me the opportunity to work my tail off during the day. But then when I'm done, I can go to the rest of my house, which is then my dwelling in my house, and I'm with my family, and I'm able. So I try to set those boundaries. That's really how I do it. And when I have success and someone pays me a compliment, I gush, and it's a hard thing, right? Joy and compliments are hard things to understand. I think we don't allow ourselves because we're taught to be a little humble or we're taught to be a little modest. No, 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 no. People are paying compliment. Take it in, say thank you, and then move on to another conversation with that person, or and take that as it is. But remember to set your boundaries because look, we only get one of these. We only get one life. And I want to make my goal in life is to say, hey, I don't want anybody leaving saying, hey, I don't want to sit on my deathbed and say, I wish I spent more
mm,
time with my family. That's cliche and that's corny, but corny works. I don't want to say, I wish I went on that trip with my wife, but work got in the way. Work doesn't care.
yeah. I love that. I was just talking to a friend of mine yesterday morning, and she's in a career transition, and she took time to be with her daughter in Asheville. And she was apologizing because she missed some things we had on the calendar. And I had said to her as she was sharing this, I said, well, this makes me flashback. And as you're sharing, it makes me flashback. Michael's mother passed away in February. Beautiful way to meet God and go to the pearly gates, passed away in her sleep. And as we were in his parents' home of 60 years, imagine that, cleaning out all of these things and items. And as we sat around the room with his siblings, it just made me think it really is about the memories. Like life can make us think that it's the things and the car and the house and the clothes and the things that you're hustling for, and you lose these beautiful memories, and that's what it's about.
Yeah.
I love that. I love how you said that, and I also love how you talked about celebrating success. Have you read The Gap and the Gain?
No.
Oh, I'm sending it to you. I'm gifting it to you because it's so good. But
Okay.
they talk about in the book how we are constantly in gap mode. I'll be happy when I get this next client. I'll
Hmm.
be happy when I get this, when I meet this tier. I'll be happy when I get this in the bank account, so forth. And then it comes and you're like, that's not it. It's the next thing. And you're never recognizing all of the gains. Do you have anything that you do to celebrate your wins as you navigate through this journey?
I do, and it might be bizarre. It probably is
Share.
bizarre.
I love bizarre. Share.
But one of the things that I do to celebrate my wins is I have that hire for good promise that's part of our organization. And it basically is, it was for those of your listeners who are familiar with a retail organization up in New Hampshire called Chaos and Kindness. If you're not familiar with it, I would say go to their store, go to their website. It basically is a retail disruptor, started by a guy named Justin Spencer, and just phenomenal culture and way of doing business. The story kind of is I stole what they did at checkout. Was we were on vacation in Keene, New Hampshire, and we went into their Chaos and Kindness store, and it's blown away. There's loud music playing, and it's loud, upbeat music, and they have a chalk paint walls, chalk painted walls, and they have chalk markers so you can leave inspirational messages to other shoppers.
Ah,
They've got a skee ball, they've got a Pop-A-Shot in the store. But the cool thing is when you go to check out, when we went to check out, they said, we donate to a not-for-profit organization a portion of all of our revenues. And they said, but you tell us which one you want your portion to go to, which I never heard of before. Brilliant. And here are the four. And they named off four different local charities. And we were like, so we bought four books and we each donated to a different
oh,
charity. So we kind of spread the wealth a little bit. I was walking out of the store with my wife. And again, I lean on my wife because she's brilliant and she's my rock. I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going next. I don't know what it is that I have to do, but I am stealing this idea from them. Period. No doubt about it. If I'm fortunate enough, I'm fortunate enough to do something. And I reached out to the organization. They're like, no stealing necessary. Please take it. We love that
mm,
you're spreading the wealth. And they couldn't have been more generous with their praise on it. And what came of this was this hire for good promise. So that's how I celebrate. I make a donation in my client's name for, and I've got four great partners: the Pathway School in Audubon, Pennsylvania, Laurel House, um, NAMI, Philadelphia, and CHOP. And those are the four and I love that. That's how I celebrate, is when I
mm,
have this opportunity and the client says, I want you to donate to this because this matters to me. I love that. And I get a joy out of that because I'm like, yes, we're doing some good by hiring for good.
I love
That's
that.
how I celebrate.
I love that. And just when I think I can't love you anymore, my friend, boom, you go and do it. This, as you're sharing this, it makes me flash to, again, back to purpose. And I read something online the other day and I thought, oh God, I love this. And it had just talked about you don't find purpose, purpose finds you. And purpose finds you when you do these small acts of kindness and when you have some sort of spiritual connection that feels right to you. You don't need to go to church, you don't need to do the things, but just some sort of connection
Yeah.
to a higher power because it gives you faith to get through the fear.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
All right? And my friend, I want to go back to the four questions that you talked about a while back because I love that they were so impactful to you during our time together. And do you mind sharing them with the listeners? Because by God, I don't even remember what they are.
Yeah, you know what? My wife has my paper, so I apologize. It was start with gratitude, Say no to things that don't add value to you. Um, oh wow, Megan, we're gonna have to edit this.
Was one, no, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Oh, I'm sure gratitude was in there.
Yeah.
Gratitude. Was one like how you feeling today and why? Was that one of them?
Yes. 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 Be real with how you're feeling today and why.
That's it. Be real. That's it. Be real with how you're feeling today. Don't run to the shit to numb it. How are you really feeling?
Yeah.
That's right. Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah. And then there was the one, and shame on me because I've been following with my accountability partners and I haven't talked to them in a week, so I forgot. But there was that fourth one, I think about allowing yourself the grace to
Oh, I
can
love
I
this. I
get
love
this?
where this is going. Allowing your, yeah, I love where this is going. Was it to mess up or something, or to be human, or not have all the
Yeah, I
answers?
think that was it. Allow yourself to, understand you're a human being and allow yourself the ability to screw up and learn from it.
Mm,
Something like yeah, in that area. But those are four the very important things to be able to do.
I love that they spoke to you. And now I love that. I love that. And God, it's speaking back to me. You ever say, like, you ever give advice to other people and then life has this beautiful way of bringing it back around to you? And you're like, holy shit, I really needed that.
Yeah. Well, that whole bet on yourself conversation. It was something that I said to my sister, again, another brilliant person in my life, who I don't know, she got all the brains in the family, maybe. But she was struggling and she was talking about maybe wanting to start her own business. And I mentioned to her, look, if you're going to bet on anybody, why not bet on yourself?
Mm.
And then when I was struggling with Hilton, she's like, you told me a couple of months ago, if you're going to bet on anybody, bet on yourself. And it was exactly that moment, Megan, where I was like, holy cow, I should be careful what I say.
Isn't that, isn't that like I say all the time, universe, divine, God, whatever word you want to use, has a sixth sense of humor. Like the shit you're able to give other people and it just rolls off the tongue. And then sometimes you hear it back and you're like, oh
Mhm.
God, that's a truth bomb moment.
Yeah.
Bill,
What's it,
how
that Depeche Mode song?
oh, I
Um,
love Depeche Mode.
I think it's a Depeche Mode song where it says, I think that God has a sixth sense of humor. And when I die, I expect to see him laughing. I think it's Depeche Mode.
Oh my God, that's great. That's great. Well, for our listeners that have loved your vulnerability, your authenticity, your nuggets on kindness and gratitude, and want to follow you and stay connected with you and cheerlead for you, where can they find you? Where can we get more Bill Melton in our lives?
Well, of course, LinkedIn, Bill Melton, meltonhospitalityadvisors.com, and Bill at meltonhospitalityadvisors.com is my email. I'm happy to connect with anybody, anywhere. I think the stronger our tribes are, the
Mm.
better off we are. So yeah, I'd love to connect with anybody and of course stay connected with, the one and only Megan Miller because it does my heart good.
Ah, you're the best. And gang, I'm going to put Bill's website, his email that he beautifully offered. And you don't even need to be in hospitality to connect with Bill. He speaks on a multitude. Today was just a little nugget of the gifts that he shares. And I think in a world where we can so quickly go to the negativity and what's wrong, Bill's beautiful cheerleading nuggets or a different way to look at the world, it's such a gift. And I want you to follow Bill. I want you to email Bill if this spoke to you, let him know. I will look at his website. He's just a gift in this world. And if this spoke to you, take a nugget from what we talked about today and please connect with Bill and let him know. Bill, it has been a gift. Like I've been thinking about this the past couple of days, and I was thinking about this morning about how you came into my life and how you've been such a cheerleader and an advocate when I don't see it or believe it in myself. And I think what a gift that that is in this world. And I love you to pieces. And you are such a beautiful human being. And thank you for the gifts, not only to me, but to everyone that comes across your path. You truly build community and connection in every room you walk into. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Megan. It's my pleasure. And we should probably stop this recording before I start tearing up. I really appreciate those kind words. And to your point, Megan, anybody, anywhere, anytime. And let I want to grow tribes. Let's go.
Let's go.